We have some players riding high after crazy preseasons and also some sneaky winners based off smaller injuries across the entire NFL. So I want to go through and update y'all with players that are moving up fantasy football rankings across the board and identify maybe some guys we should be targeting in drafts, maybe some guys that we should be looking to sell high, or maybe we buy them as they're increasing in their value. But the first few names, not going to be too exciting. Going to throw up a trio of tight ends. We have Luke Musgrave, we have Jake Ferguson, and we have Juwan Johnson. Now you'll notice if you're in underdog drafts, these guys have all moved up like 3 to 4 rounds over the past few weeks. Now in reality, in your regular shallow redraft format, I'm going to be honest with you, these guys don't really matter much, right? I mean, they're all still going to be tight end twos. Really, the reason we want to be putting them on this list is there was all a little bit of uncertainty with every single one of these depth charts, but they did cement themselves as the starters in the preseason. So if you're in like an underdog best ball draft, right, where you can grab Jake Ferguson as your tight end 3 and he turns out to be the tight end 10 from a points per game perspective, then maybe he's a massive winner and maybe actually helps you win a considerable amount of money on underdog. But in your shallow regular redraft league, I mean, he's never really going to move the needle for you, right? I mean, and I really only want to be rostering one of these guys as a backup tight end if our tight end 1 is garbage. But going over to our next spot, a couple quarterbacks, kind of a similar boat, right? We have Sam Howell and Kenny Pickett, both looking like some of the most impressive quarterbacks we got to see in the preseason. Sam Howell went out there, attempted 37 passes, had 28 completions, 265 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and even demonstrated some rushing upside. I mean, we're going to be talking about another Washington Commander later on, just based off the injury that we have with Terry McLaurin right now. But Sam Howell has also risen like 3 rounds in underdog drafts, but similar to these tight ends, right? You draft Sam Howell as the quarterback 25 in your underdog draft. If he turns out to be the quarterback 12, it's a massive win for you. But in your regular redraft league, it just won't matter. Kind of same thing with Kenny Pickett. Pickett looked great, 15 attempts, 13 completions, about 200 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. But still, I don't necessarily think Kenny Pickett has the upside to actually move the needle for you in your regular shallow redraft format. So probably skim over these guys, and they're more so just best ball options. But going over to Raheem Mostert, I kind of owe y'all an apology, right? Because this is a running back that we are mentioning as a sell high candidate, because back a month ago, I was sitting here looking at this going, okay, well, you have Devon Achane, you have Jeff Wilson. It's a 3-man running back by committee, and you still have the possibility they get Jonathan Taylor, they get Leonard Fournette, they get Kareem Hunt. Well, since then, they don't make a play for Jonathan Taylor, or at least they can't make a reasonable play for him, and JT is going to be on Indy, not playing any games for at least the first 4 weeks. Devon Achane has a shoulder injury. Now, he's supposed to be back soon, but we don't know exactly what that means. And Jeff Wilson Jr. goes on the IR. Now, says he's going to come back or potentially may come back week 5, but obviously that's up in the air. And right now, Raheem Mostert looks like the locked and loaded RB1 for the Miami Dolphins going into week 1 with really no competition on this roster anymore. So it's kind of a crazy spot. I will say this is a running back that if you're in like a 14-team league, you could go ahead. You could start him as a running back 2. And I think you are just going to get the guaranteed touches, and it is a pretty good offense, right? Now, my issue is just what's the overall real upside? This is a 31-year-old running back that doesn't catch the ball, that has seen 1 game in his entire NFL career with 20 or more carries. So I still want to stand by the fact that I think maybe the ceiling's going to be a little bit capped here. But with that being said, I mean, still, the situation has transformed itself to be beautiful. But if you're playing in like 10-team league with only 1 flex, he'll be a clear sell high candidate. And we'll want to go ahead and package him with someone else for someone with more upside. More like a 12-team league, multiple flex spots kind of player, or a 14-team league kind of guy. Now, our next running back will be Khalil Herbert. We've already talked about him previously. Now, Herbert is the typical guy that rises in the preseason. That's a clear sell, right? And now I loved Khalil Herbert before the preseason when you were getting him as the RB40. But now that a lot of people are viewing him as a top 24 option, and a lot of people are discounting the role that Roschon Johnson or the role that Deonta Foreman may have later on in the season, now this is a sell high moment. You generally want to be selling the guy that has a big play, right? That's going to be very hard to predict going into the year. Really, we only want to be buying high on the guys where the usage looks a lot better than we expect. Now, Jalen Warren, maybe you want to argue that his usage does fundamentally look different, but I'm going to kind of throw him in the same boat that you have with Khalil Herbert, and that, yeah, it's a running back that looked very good in the preseason. It's a running back that made a couple big plays. He had a couple touchdowns, and naturally, people are going to get excited because we finally have football. We finally have action to look at. just in reality, I don't necessarily know if we can predict Warren to have a pretty large role this next season. I think he's just going to continue to be a premium handcuff bag if Najee were to go down. So I'll sell him high if we can. Now, James Cook is a running back where the usage actually looks very encouraging. And James Cook's a running back that's moving up fantasy football draft boards everywhere. And I agree with it, right? Now, the only issue you have is that Damien Harris did vulture a goal line touchdown earlier in the preseason, but that was one rushing touchdown. That was one thing. It's very hard to assume that's going to continue to happen going forward. I mean, James Cook cemented himself as the RB1 in training camp. That carried over to the preseason. So James Cook's one of these running backs where he's increasing his value, and it's well-deserved, and I think that we should go ahead and buy high because it's a usage thing. It's not just like a big random play like Khalil Herbert or Jalen Warren that's driving his value. Also, obviously, you have James Cook in an elite level offense with Josh Allen there. And speaking of Allen, just to make sure y'all are taking advantage of this, guys, I've literally never seen it before, but Underdog has an exclusive pick'em only for people who use promo code FLOCK. Monday night, Josh Allen, more than less than half a passing yard against the New York Jets. On top of this, they have an exclusive Patrick Mahomes pick'em. I mean, that is going to be site-wide Thursday night against the Detroit Lions, more than less than half a total yard. And if you are new to Underdog Fantasy, not only are you going to get both of those, which, I mean, hell, I've never seen them do two in the same week, but you're going to get an additional mystery special pick'em on top of that. Promo code FLOCK's also not only going to get you all three of those, but a 100% deposit match up to $100, our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com where you can find our 2023 fantasy football draft guide. And also, you are going to be able to hop into drafts that we are still doing on the live stream every single night until the season starts. Best ball draft, so it's the spot to get in an extra draft, not replace the main one that you care most about. How I drafted 700 teams to won $150,000 on Underdog last year. But going over to our next guy, we are going to have George Pickens. Now, Pickens has steadily increased. I mean, we know that he was one of the first guys in training camp to have that highlight grab. On top of this, he had a great preseason as well. Going back to what we saw with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense overall, I mean, Pittsburgh just looked great top to bottom. And honestly, I think that Pickens was undervalued before the preseason. So I understand that he has moved up for reasons that maybe we don't love. I mean, such as highlight grabs. You really shouldn't be moving a player up your rankings because of that. But I think it was too low to begin with. So I'm going to be fine with it. Now, Jahan Dodson is a wide receiver that's been moving up and kind of looks like a must-start guy now week one. Not only do you get the bump that you have regarding the overall offense looking great with Sam Howell in the preseason, but on top of this, Terry McLaurin dealing with the turf toe. Looks like McLaurin's most likely going to be missing week one at the minimum. This injury may end up lingering into the beginning of the season. And if that were to happen, then all of a sudden, Jahan Dodson may just cement himself as the wide receiver one with Sam Howell this year. So it's a really interesting spot. Looks like a player that we're definitely going to get games to start immediately and maybe more upside later on. I definitely believe that he deserves to be rising, not a sell high candidate. Now, DJ Moore looked great in the preseason as well. DJ Moore not only had the catch to kick off the preseason, going and taking it to the house, but also he had another incredible grab demonstrating his yards after the catch ability that went viral on Twitter. And naturally, DJ Moore went from being like the wide receiver 25 to now the wide receiver 17. But going back to what we were talking about previously, when we're looking at preseason movers, the guys that deserve to be moving up rankings, the guys that deserve to increase their overall trade value are the players where we get more information based around their usage, and it's a better situation than we thought it was going to be going into the year. That's why I'm saying someone like James Cook, move him up. I think it's completely warranted. So I'm saying someone like Jahan Dodson with the injury to Terry McLaurin, move him up. It's completely warranted. But with those trending grabs, with those highlight catches that are going to just drive up a player because it looks cool on Twitter, that is naturally a sell high opportunity. So if you could take DJ Moore, package him with a lesser piece, and go get Amari Cooper, and go get Calvin Ridley, and go get DK Metcalf, I think that would make a lot of sense as a sell high candidate. Now, going over to our next guy, Jamal Williams deserves to be rising. Because with Jamal, right, I mean, you're drafting him thinking, okay, I could probably start him if I need to through the first 3 weeks of the year. Now, with that being said, you know for sure you can start him through the first 3 weeks of the season now that Kendre Miller is injured as well. Not only do you have the Alvin Kamara suspension for the first 3 weeks, but you also have Miller injuring his hamstring, which is essentially just going to open up this overall depth chart where Jamal is going to get every single touch out of this backfield. And I'm already looking ahead on how we're going to do our week 1 rankings. And I'm not going to be too surprised if we end up going out there and throwing Jamal Williams around like running back 15, running back 16 as a must-start guy for the first 3 weeks. Now, Cortland Sutton's also shaping up to potentially be another must-start option. And y'all know I have a long, storied history with Cortland Sutton as the player last year in fantasy football drafts that we called the most overrated player. I drafted 700 teams and maybe took him twice, and he probably fell 15 picks past ADP each time we took him. But this offseason, you have Sean Payton coming in, which hopefully is going to help this offense overall. Not only do we have Sean Payton, but then KJ Hamler has a heart issue, thins out the wide receiver depth just a little bit more in this overall room. Then Tim Patrick tears an Achilles. Tim Patrick out for the season. All of a sudden thins out the wide receiver depth a little bit more where Jerry Jeudy's going to get a higher target share. Cortland Sutton's going to get a higher target share. And then on top of it, Jerry Jeudy hamstring injury. And Jerry Jeudy's probably going to miss the beginning portion of the season. So Cortland Sutton went from a guy that last year was horrendously overvalued when people were trying to call this man the next Cooper Kupp and were taking him in round 3. Now he is in a much better situation than he was a year ago. He's the same exact player y'all were trying to call the next Cooper Kupp last offseason. However, instead he's going as like a wide receiver 5. And I actually think this is someone that you may be able to go through and you may be able to start at the beginning of the year dependent on that Jeudy injury. So, yeah, I mean, it pains me to say, but Sutton is moving up for all the right reasons. I don't think it's to sell high guys such as DJ Moore. Damien Pierce has been moving up as well. And that with Damien Pierce, people are finally realizing, okay, yeah, he is the every down starter for the Houston Texans. Devin Singletary is just a backup. I mean, it's surprising to me that it took the preseason to see the snaps that Devin Singletary was getting with the first team offense in comparison to Damien Pierce for people to figure that out. But nonetheless, it's been figured out now. Damien Pierce is moving up rankings for the right reasons as well. Now, I do need to talk about the Indianapolis Colts, guys, right? Because with Deion Jackson, with Evan Hall, with Zach Moss, I know everybody is running to every comment section on our videos and going, "Oh, Mason, should I pick up Zach Moss? Oh, should I pick up Deion Jackson? Should I pick up Evan Hall? Can I start him week 1? The thing is, I wish I was smart enough, right? I wish my dad was the coach of the Indianapolis Colts. I wish I could go and check out team practices, talk to the coaching staff, figure out exactly how they plan on using these RBs. In reality, I have no idea what's going on with the situation. Anybody who tries to tell you that they know how the breakdown of touches will be in Indianapolis is just straight up lying to you, or they're lying to themselves. I don't know which one would be worse. And you cannot start any Indianapolis Colts player week 1. Now, you are more than welcome to pick them up, throw them on your bench, and say, oh, okay, well, let's sit here and let's wait around. Let's see who the running back 1 ends up being. Now, let's see if it's Deion Jackson. And if he is that guy, if he looks great week 1, then I'll start him week 2. Like, you can go ahead, roster him, you do you on that front. But to start him will be entirely reckless. Like, we don't even know who the guy is. I mean, I thought it was going to be Jonathan Taylor. I thought there was no way in hell they weren't playing him for the first 4 weeks. So it goes to show what I know, and you probably shouldn't be overly confident in your projection of this situation. But I think that's all I have for y'all in this video. Again, thank you so much for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. As always, if there's anything I can do, please let me know down there in the comment section. I'd love to improve in any way that I can for you. And we're still going to be drafting every single night on the live stream. So if you want to get in a draft with us, or if you want to go check out the Patrick Mahomes special for Thursday night against the Lions, the Josh Allen special Monday night against the Jets, or the mystery special pick'em, and all of the above, you can find that link to Underdog Fantasy in the comment section, description, live chat, promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com where you can find our 2023 fantasy football draft guide. Literally have never seen anything like that before on any site before, so make sure y'all are taking advantage of it. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you, and I really hope I get to see you out in the live stream later tonight.